is worth having a little celebration, because you're right, it's not, Rome wasn't built overnight. It's that whole thing, like, yeah, I know where I maybe want to be in a year or 5 years roughly. Like I said, I'm not like a strict planner, but it's small steps to get there. It's not like I'm going to wake up tomorrow and have achieved, you know, my 5-year goals. So I love it. I'm going to give that a go, I think.
It's great. I feel like it takes the pressure off a little bit, because, you know, it's like, okay, tomorrow I'm not gonna build my network by 1,000 people, but I can build it by, like, you know, 10. I can go send out those LinkedIn invitations. I can, you know, drop people an email. I can join a group. It's just those, like, it's taking the pressure off, because I just feel like we work ourselves up so much about being like, I'm not a Z yet, but it's like, that's okay. Just, you know, get to see, like, just get, you know, and that's good. I think it's so interesting too. And I think it's, you know, again, and like, guys have it as well. Men get this as well. And, you know, I think men don't talk about it as much, just again, that's anecdotally. They absolutely do have it too. It's absolutely relevant. I do think, you know, you see this all the time. It seems to be more females that get it. I think that's so interesting. And I think it's weird because we don't tend to, like, talk ourselves up, you know. It's almost like, if I just keep working, they will recognize me, and they'll recognize how much I'm doing, and they'll see me. And sometimes that's not the case. You do have to be like, no, I'm actually good at this, and I'm really working hard, and I'm trying. And I sometimes think, you know, I don't know what it is, and I think there's a culture thing too, where it's like, you don't want to be seen as braggy, you don't want to be seen as pushy, but then there's also a kind of wider society thing where, you know, you see women getting, like, you know, such a backlash. They talk about, hey, I'm really good, and they're like, well, she's arrogant, you know, and you see it all the time, and it's like, oh, you know, you have to be, there's such an expectation to be, you know, humble yet competent, to be, you know, you're not assertive, you're aggressive if you push yourself forward, you know, and, you know, I'll be honest, in my head I'm thinking Twitter, which is maybe a little unfair, but, you know, there is so much. I think there's, like, and it's nice now, I feel like there's more of a push and more recognition on, no, do you know what, we can build ourselves up, and, you know, women can be assertive, and women can celebrate their achievements and their positives. And I feel there's such a nice, you know, community, and it's been such a nice movement over the past few years to really, you know, build ourselves up and be supportive. I think that's so great. But I still see it all the time where it's like, someone says something which, you know, I see as just being a sort of positive comment about themselves, not being self-deprecating, not tearing yourself down, just being, you know, I recognize that I am good at something, or I am good at this. And then there's just such a wave of, how arrogant is she? Like, what is, you know, she thinks a lot of herself, and you just think, no, we need to stop.
Yeah, and I think you're right. Like, men obviously suffer with this too. It's not just females but I think when men shout out about their achievements, everyone just expects it. Like, how it's not very often that men get coined as arrogant for, you know, for shouting out about one of their accomplishments, and women definitely do. I agree, there's a double standard, and I do think it's getting better. As you say, there's definitely been a little bit more of a movement for equality, and obviously we've made some progress there. But I even still do it myself. Like, I find it not necessarily easy, but I feel more confident posting things when I'm maybe having a tough day, or when things aren't going so well. I feel okay about posting those. But if something is going well, I might not post at all about it, or I might not share a success, because I don't want to come across as arrogant. And I think I really need to check myself with that and start showing a little bit more of a balance, because I do think it's really important to share the bad days too. I think if you want to connect with people, you need to be honest, and you can't, you know, social media can't just be a highlight reel where everything's perfect and my life is so perfect. And I mean, for me, like, I wouldn't want to work with someone like that. I wouldn't want to buy from a company like that. I want to hear that other people are dealing with the same challenges I am. And I think that's where social media can be so powerful, because me sitting, you know, working by myself in my flat, you're sitting working by yourself in your house, it can be quite lonely and isolating, especially on the tough days. But yeah, I would love to see if more of us shouted out about our accomplishments, and we're just really proud about what we did, and hopefully not get any backlash for being arrogant because of it.
Definitely. I think you're so right. It's definitely something that like, if I get like a compliment from a client, I'm just like, oh, that's nice. I will never tell him. And then it's like, why are you not? Like, why aren't you putting it out there? Why aren't you? I'm like, we'll just keep that one quiet, or maybe tell my boyfriend. But no, it's so it's such a strange way to look at it. It really is. And I think we're seeing more. I do think it's going the right way. I do, to not be too like doom and gloom. I do think we're seeing more positivity. But do you know what I also think is so like important for me is just to take that, again, step back. I feel like I said step back so many times, but again, take a step back and realize, like, I can't control other people's reactions. I can't control how someone's going to react to me. I can't see if I think it's okay to talk about this, and my clients approved it and all that stuff, if everything's getting the checkbox, or it just maybe myself had a success that day. Like, if I think it's okay to share it, and I don't think the post comes across bad, and if I think it's done in the best possible way, then I can't control other people's reactions. And don't get me wrong, if someone comes in with some real good feedback that I've maybe just not considered, if I say something, someone's a bit like, oh, you maybe came across there a wee bit like, then that's, great, that's something to consider, and that's something for me to learn from and grow. But hey, at the end of the day, I can't control how people are going to accept things or take things. And I think sometimes you just have to, I think that's part of taking the pressure off too, about this kind of like perfectionist standards, that there's only so much you can control, and there's only so much, you just have to do your best, I think.
Yeah, and you're right, you can't control realistically, somebody else's reaction to whatever you post, whether it's a good day or a bad day, you can't control the reaction, and the reaction's really more of a reflection of themselves and how they're feeling. Like, they might find it difficult. Someone might say, oh, she's being a bit arrogant if you share success, because they're not feeling very successful that day, which is really not a comment on you doing anything wrong, or that is actually arrogant. It's just somebody else is kind of projecting their own feelings onto your stuff. And I think for me, the way I look at it is like, am I being honest? Like, if I write out a post, I've shared a lot about mental health in the last week, which isn't something that I really had spoken that openly about before. And when I first wrote the post, I went, oh, am I really going to share this? And I thought, this is me sitting. That's probably the most honest thing I've written in ages, because it's so personal. And I was a bit scared to share it, but I thought, listen, if that turns somebody off, if I get unfollowed, or, somebody doesn't book my services because they don't like what I wrote, they're not my kind of person. And that's what I always try and like check myself with. Like, if the people whose opinions I value and who I want in my community and my audience are like-minded people, I want to work with other people who also want to be open and honest and, admit the bad days and things like that. So if that puts somebody off, it doesn't really matter, because that's not really my people anyway.
I think that's a really good way to look at it. I think that's a really great way to look at it. And like, I know what post you're talking about, and like, I thought it was great, really did. So don't unfollow me. No.
I won't. Oh, but it's
no, but I thought it was really, like, it was brave, and I thought it was really great. And I do think to be like that, like, I don't know how you felt, but if I was going to post something like that, I would find it difficult not to think about how people are going to receive it. And I think that's quite a difficult thing to get over, to be honest. And I thought it was great. I really did.
Oh, thanks. Well, and I think, admittedly, like, sometimes I will post things and then I'll think back to it and go like, oh my God, should I really leave that sitting on my page? Like, I've done that before too. And I think what I have noticed though, with like both of the brands that I've built up, is when I do share honest things, and whether that's personal experience like I just shared, or like an honest opinion on something, like, earlier this year with all the stuff going on with diversity and inclusion, I spoke a lot about that. And even on my wedding photography account, sharing photos, for example, of maybe a gay couple. And there might be some small-minded people who that really puts off. But realistically, if somebody doesn't want to work with me because we have different morals, that's fine, because I probably don't want to work with someone who's against gay marriage, for example. So I've definitely learned, like, yeah, you might always put some people off. The more open and honest you are, the more you're maybe going to niche down a little bit or push some people out of your circle. But that's not really a bad thing. And I think I've actually grown my audience and grown my engagement since I've started posting more honestly about what I care about and what means something to me.
I love that. Do you feel more comfortable now posting about that kind of stuff? Now that you've now that you've done it, you've got over that hurdle, do you feel a bit more at ease?
Yeah, and every time I do it, it gets a little bit easier. So to me, like talking about things that I value, like, for example, diversity and inclusion, things like that, whatever other brand values, like how important it is to me to support small and local wherever I can. Not that I think that one's really going to put anybody off, but when I talk about those things, it's a little bit easier because they're important to me, but it's not so personal. When I like the mental health stuff is quite personal. And I've written a few posts too about like finding motherhood really difficult, that like I sat on for a while and went, should I really post this? Should I? But every time I do it, it gets a little bit easier. And, a client, a previous client, and I would call a friend anyway, through online of mine, after I posted that mental health post, actually reached out and shared that they had had a similar experience and gave me some advice. And we ended up having a really long conversation about it. And I thought, I never would have known that that person dealt with the same thing that I did had I not shared that post. And it brings you closer to people. And I'd be lying if I said I didn't still like get a little bit nervy when I post something like that. But it does. Every time you do it, it gets a little bit easier. And I think when you realize that that's how you connect with people, by being really open and honest, then it just makes it a win-win.
Oh, absolutely. And I actually do think that is part of like how we get past this comparing to everyone, comparing, contrasting, being open to the other people's experiences. And, I would hope as well that even if people who maybe didn't share those experiences would still be supportive and still quite supportive to you. And so, I think you're giving people space then to genuinely be individual and different. And those things that like actually do make you people up, your differences, like when I say differences, I mean like just different experiences, backgrounds, ways of seeing things. I think I think that really helps. I think that's a good thing. And I mean, obviously I don't mean people who are like prejudiced and stuff like that. That's not like, that's not what I mean. But yeah, different mental health experiences, different ways of seeing things, even just being able to say like, hey, I did this and I'm really happy about that. That's great. And okay, you're not like, oh, I did a TED talk. Isn't that great? You're just like, I did this. And this is what I am happy about. And this is what I think is good. And, and I think also that kind of genuine authenticity about like your bad days as well. I think that's so great and so important. I really do. And like, don't get me wrong, I know on social media everything is like a little bit curated still and a little bit like, but I think it's like another step towards sort of lifting that curtain, letting everyone realize that it's not all just like, oh look, here's me with no makeup and isn't that check this out, and I'm like, I can see your mascara.
Yeah, I think you're right. And I think it's one of the things that like, it's easy to focus on the negative things about social media, and there are some negative things. There's things that I don't like about it as well. But I think if you if you also curate who you follow. So if somebody is posting, about how every day they work on the beach in Hawaii and they drive their Porsche, and, like, that's fine. If that is somebody's life, or that's how someone wants us to perceive their life, good for them, that's fine. But that's not the kind of stuff that inspires me or motivates me or makes me feel connected. So I found by really trying to seek out people who do inspire me and who motivate me and who share similar values and all that kind of stuff, it actually makes being online that much more positive. And I feel good most of the time when I scroll through my feed. Whereas, before, when I would just maybe follow everybody, or I don't know, seek out certain kinds of accounts, and like realistically, I realized that's not doing anything to help me mentally or with my business or so I agree. I think it's getting better. People are sharing more honest stuff, and it does make me feel more connected if I'm having a bad day and you share that you're having a bad day, and I'm like, hey, it's not just me. Everybody has days like this. It does help.
Yeah, absolutely. And also just, having those people who are honest enough to be able to say like, you need to like stop. You need to stop the comparison, in a nice way. Like, but it's just having those people who, if you're having those really just bad days and you're like, oh, I just feel terrible, having a person there to be like, you're not doing terrible, you're just you're just doing a bit of like emotional reasoning or something here, or you're just having a day of it, you're good, you're back on track. It's having those people around you and having those people that you can have those conversations with. So it's, I think you're totally right. I think it's having like connecting on social media to people who make you feel more, I don't know if inspired is the right word, but people who you feel like, you know, I get that person, I get it, I understand that person, and you know, but then also